That is, we have budding, right? So budding is also a asexual method of reproduction, and in budding what happens, a small part of the this body of the parent organism, like this is the parent organism, fine, so it grows out as a bud. You can see here, this is bud, fine, so which then detach and become a new organism. So you can see here it is detaching from the main parent body, and this will become this again, fine, so it keeps on repeating. Now students, hydra is a simple multicellular animal. Okay, remember this thing, it is a multicellular animal. So hydra reproduce by the process of budding, fine, we are studying budding. So in hydra, first a small outgrowth that is called a bud. So you all can see here, this is a parent body students, and here in the second case you can see a bud is formed, fine, on the side of its body by the repeated mitotic division of its cell. This bud then grows gradually to form a small hydra by developing a mouth and the tentacles. Remember this thing, mouth and tentacles. So this is the mouth, fine, and these are the tentacles. They are very sensitive students, fine, these are the tentacles. Now in this way the parent hydra has produced or created a new hydra, fine. Thus hydra reproduce asexually by growing buds on its body. You can see here, first it initially it grows the bud, fine, then what happens students, bud keeps on growing, fine, just wait, bud keeps on growing students, fine. Now this bud then grows gradually to form a small hydra by developing the mouth and the tentacle, and finally the tiny new hydra detach itself from the parent body, fine, and it lives as a separate organism. So this is what about the budding. Now student, this is the budding in yeast, fine, so this thing also we should know. Now what happens, yeast is a tiny unicellular, remember this thing, we have discussed the hydra which is a multicellular, but here talking about yeast it is unicellular, remember this thing, fine students. Now it's a non-green plant which is a fungus, and yeast reproduced by the budding. Okay, so here also you can see this is a parent yeast cell where you can see a small bud, fine. Now the nucleus of parent yeast cell then divides into two parts, okay, and one part of the nucleus moves into the bud. Ultimately the bud separates off from the parent yeast. So you can see here the long chain of yeast cells they are forming, right. Now buds they remain attached here, you can see number of buds are there. Okay, so the budding in yeast however often takes place so fast that the first buds start forming their own buds, and also of them remain attached to the parent yeast cell, forming a chain of yeast cells. You can see a chain has been formed. Why is it so students? Because the budding in yeast it takes place very fast, fine, it taking place very fast. So the first buds it starts forming their own buds, like this is the first bud, it starts forming their own buds, fine. So after some time all the yeast cells of the chain separates from one another and form the individual yeast. So you can see here they forming the individual yeast cell. So this is what all about the budding in hydra and yeast. Okay, so